Hello, everyone. I'm Jack Fisher. Welcome to my world, and welcome to another edition of Jack Quick Reacts. These are unscripted, not too elaborate reactions. I'm not trying to make some larger video essay or anything like that. This is just me talking into my mic off the cuff. And today I'm going to talk about Ant Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, because like with every Marvel movie since Iron Man, I made sure I saw it on opening day, and I'm glad I did. Seeing a Marvel movie on opening day has become one of my favorite traditions, and Ant Man and the Wasp is one of well, just the Ant Man movies in general are the kind of movies when they first came out, I thought, really, you're making an Ant Man movie? How can Ant Man become a franchise on the same level as Iron Man or Spider Man? Well, after Ant Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, I'm not asking those questions anymore. This was the kind of movie that felt like a culmination of everything an Ant-Man movie could be. Um, it's like I enjoyed the first two movies, but to be honest, the first two Ant-Man movies were forgettable for the most part. The first one was, it had some good. It was mostly it felt like more of a novelty. You see all these adventures with Ant-Man shrinking down and fighting fighting a Yellow Jacket or Ghost, and it works in its own unique way, but it's honestly it wasn't. I didn't think it was that memorable, and of course Ant-Man ended up being a big deal in Avengers Endgame, and now with Quantumania, it's kind of like the first movie where he kind of gets to be sort of like a premier superhero, and he gets to kind of be part of his big team. And yeah, and in some respects, this did, even though this was an Ant-Man and the Wasp movie, it really did kind of feel more like an Avengers movie, given how it brought in everyone from the Ant-Man from Ant-Man's inner circle. It had Hank Pym, Janet Van Dyne, and Scott Lang's daughter Cassie, and of course Hope Van Dyne's back. Every one of them gets to really shine in this movie. And it really feels like a superhero team movie and not just an Ant-Man movie, or not even just an Ant-Man and the Wasp movie. It really is, it really kind of like feels like an evolution of after the first two movies. And I mean that in a good way. Okay, now before I actually go any further, I want to just give a quick spoiler warning. Again, this isn't scripted, so there's a good chance I might let a few spoilers slip. So if you haven't seen this movie yet, if you don't want to be spoiled, okay, just here's your chance. I'm just giving this warning right now. But getting into it, this movie was just fun. It was just pure, unadulterated MCU fun. It hits the ground running. It really kind of leverages just the inherent likability of Paul Rudd as Scott Lang, and it kind of just runs with it. It doesn't try too hard to reinvent Scott Lang. It doesn't try too hard to completely change or warp any of the characters as they've been developed to this point, whether that's Hank Pym or Hope Van Dyne. It does have to sort of develop characters like Cassie, since she was a little girl when when the first Ant-Man started, and she, because of the blip at the end of Infinity War and Endgame, she kind of aged up into being a teenager, and she's a character who I think she definitely stood out more than most. Not as much as Kang, but I'll get to him in a bit. But the dynamic with, at least from the beginning of this movie, is, it feels like Scott Lang he's riding high. He is, compared to a lot of his other fellow Avengers, he hasn't really lost much. He's gained way more. He's a famous superhero. He's an Avenger. He's got the love of his life, Hope Van Dyne. He's got his daughter. He's got, he wrote a book that was very successful. So, he went from, remember, he started in the first Ant-Man movie as a thief just getting out of jail, and because of his criminal record, he got fired from Baskin Robbins, which, by the way, that's a gag that returns in one of the best possible ways. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, he kind of started off like really low, and even in Ant-Man, in the second movie, Ant-Man and the Wasp, he was still not exactly a noteworthy hero, or just a noteworthy in general. But in Quantumania, he's kind of at the top of his game. But at the same, but within like the first 15 minutes of the movie, you get the sense that Scott Lang he's not really as concerned about being a superhero as he is like protecting what he's gained, because, and that makes sense too, because remember, he was in prison when he was introduced. He's got a lot to lose now, and he's never had that. But the thing is, that doesn't kind of always jive with his daughter Cassie, who kind of became a bit of a rebel and kind of a bit of an activist while Scott was blipped. Well, if he wasn't blipped, he was trapped in the quantum realm. But that's an important part for Cassie's character, because she she kind of basically had to fend for herself while her dad and her stepmom and pretty much everyone was blipped out of existence. And she really is the one who kind of is the catalyst for what happens. And she's pretty impressive too. I mean, the fact that she was able to do as much as she did while everyone she loved was gone is definitely kind of won me over. I mean, Catherine Newton as Cassie Lang, I think that's another really good casting. She really shined, but she was also kind of the one who set things into motion, because while everyone was gone, she actually looked into Hank Pym's quantum technology, and she really is the reason why they end up venturing into the depths of the quantum realm again. Now that's where most of the movie takes place. It's like in the quantum realm, and honestly, that's a big part of the appeal here, because the quantum realm in this movie is just such a visually stunning experience. I mean, it is just amazing. I mean, it's different. It's different from Pandora and the Avatar movies. It's different from Star Wars movies, but it's just so unique in how all the characters appear. It's so unique in the aesthetics. It really is like something you're not going to get anywhere else. I mean, it is just, if you can see this movie in 3D, I highly, highly recommend it, because this is one of those movies that probably works best in 3D, because it's just so dazzling at every turn. And it will also, unlike the first two Ant Man movies, it kind of played a little fast and loose. You didn't spend a whole lot of time in the quantum realm. The quantum realm was more of a plot device than anything else. But in this movie, the quantum realm, it's pretty much the main setting. In fact, I don't think you spend more than 15 or 20 minutes in the outside the quantum realm. But the crux of it is, they get trapped in the quantum realm mostly because of Cassie's efforts. But there's another reason for that, which I'll get to in a minute. But once they're in the quantum realm, this is kind of where we also learn a bit more about Janet Van Dyne. Now, she's another character who really got some development here. I mean, she wasn't in the first Ant Man movie. She didn't come back until towards the end in the second Ant Man and the Wasp. But in this movie, we learn a lot more about how she survived for 30 years in the quantum realm. I mean, 30 years is a long time. How anyone survived is. Oh, that's an important detail, and this movie really does lean into, she had to do a lot to survive. She didn't just, she wasn't in stasis. She actually kind of had to adapt like someone who was stranded on a desert island. Just that there's way more crazier things in the quantum realm, and that is where Kang the Conqueror comes into the picture. Now, again, I never checked the Rotten Tomato scores for an MCU movie until after I've seen it. So I was pretty surprised when I saw it was like only, I think 48 was the last time I checked. But even among the critics who thought the movie was just bland, they all have Jonathan Majors as Kang the Conqueror. He stole the show. He really was the best part of this movie, and I can totally agree with that. Kang the Conqueror starts off as just a very ominous presence. I mean, it sounds like he was, his presence was like too understated for a while, but as this story goes on, as he enters the picture, you feel, wow, this guy, he is a powerhouse. He really just shows, no matter where he is, whether he's stuck in the quantum realm or whether he's fighting a multiverse battle, he is capable. He is dangerous, and he really he had a hell of a presence. Like from the moment he first appeared, to the moment, to every word he said, to when, especially during like the major battles towards the end. He was just amazing at every turn. Jonathan Majors like could not think of a better casting. He he had definitely spoke with the kind of I don't know if the only other time Kang has really shown up in like outside the comics is in like cartoons. And in the cartoons he's always had this deep menacing voice, and Jonathan Majors, he has that voice. Like I think if moving forward, people who read you see Kang in any of the comics, they're going to hear Jonathan Majors' voice, and that's how you know the casting is right. Now, as for what again, Kang as a character, he has so many different variations, and this version of Kang, in Quantumania, he's no exception. He's dangerous, but we don't learn what kind of variant or variation he is until the end. But all we know is that he's definitely the conquering type. He's definitely the kind who doesn't mind sacrificing entire times, doesn't mind, brutally suppressing the local population. Which, by the way, in this there is actually an entire population of people in the quantum realm. We get to actually learn one of them is like William Jackson Harker. He plays Quaz. We find that we don't just see the fact that Kang is a conqueror. We see the people. We learn more about the people he has conquered, and that we learn they are not fond of his leadership, not at all. I mean, even though a lot of them look incredibly inhuman, they are human enough to understand that being conquered sucks, and especially with the way Kang does it. I mean, even going all the way throughout the history in the comics, Kang is not a very kind ruler. I mean, compared to someone like at least Doctor Doom really cares for his people. Kang is a bit more callous, if to say the very least. But that plays an important part later on in the story, because it kind of fits in with the story Cassie was starting, where she was kind of trying to stand up for people who got left behind, people who like her who lost everything in the blip. And so she wants to fight for these people who Kang is oppressing, whereas Scott Lang just wants to go home. He wants to get back to all the nice life he had, which can't say I blame him, but it does kind of show where he is as a hero and where he is at this point in his story. And I feel like once Cassie kind of influences him to say, what, even though things are really nice, even though you have a lot to lose now, you can still, it's being the hero is still important, because you're in a position to help these people, so help them. I mean, I know it's a very simplistic worldview, but for a superhero, it's pretty basic. I mean, it's like Superman level basic, and I think she really helps remind him of that. And and it's also something that really affects Janet Van Dyne's character, who, for a good chunk of the movie, she does not want to talk about the quantum realm. She didn't want to talk about Kang. And it really, for both Hank Pym and for Hope, it's a cause of some real tension. And you get the sense that there's a lot she just didn't want to, she never wanted to revisit this place again. She never wanted to revisit what she went through, even though, she was stuck there for 30 years. And it's just, it definitely made for some pretty dramatic moments. But again, this movie really is pretty light in terms of that kind of drama. It really is more of an action movie, but in just a very unique Ant-Man sort of way. So if you're kind of going into this movie to look for some of the drama that we've seen in some previous Marvel movies, like Eternals had a lot of high drama, so did Black Widow. But this movie is really it's really kind of lacking in that kind of drama. It doesn't try to develop too many side plots with respect to with character dynamics. I mean, who they are, who the Ant-Man and who Scott, Hope, Cassie, and Hank and Janet are in the beginning. They go on their own little journey, but they aren't fundamentally reinvented in the end. They aren't fundamentally different characters. They just they have to go through some they go through some challenges, but they could kind of get through it as a family. And in some respects, there were times when this movie felt a bit, felt kind of more like a Fantastic Four style family superhero movie than, or kind of maybe even more like the Incredibles would probably be a better a better description. But that family dynamic actually works really well here. I mean, you wouldn't expect that for an Ant Man movie because it's not usually not structured as a family movie, but it works here because they have to really come together to fight someone like Kang. Jonathan Majors Kang is just an incredibly menacing, incredibly powerful villain here, and his motivations, are. I don't want to get too far into them because I don't want to spoil everything. But this version of Kang, he's clearly, he wants to conquer a lot more than the quantum realm. I'll just leave it at that. He has ambitions, and he does mention, and is reinforced at a post-credit scene, there's a lot of variations of him. And some of those variations are even worse than he is. And he does kind of drop a hint that, there's something much bigger coming. And, we, the audience, already know. There's the next Avengers movie is called The Kang Dynasty. And we get a kind of a nice glimpse in the post-credit scene at, what Kang can do. The fact that he is he's a character who can traverse the entire multiverse, who can traverse multiple timelines, and who can team up with other versions of himself for better and for worse. But I feel like this movie, Quantumania, made the case that just one version of Kang is really powerful. Just one version of Kang, even though he started off, he was stuck and exiled in the quantum realm, he still managed to conquer most of it. I mean, that's what he could do in the quantum realm. Just imagine what he would do if he managed to escape. So there are definitely some stakes here, and the stakes really do set the stage for what to expect with the Kang Dynasty. I mean, he definitely established himself as a real Thanos level villain. He's not quite at Thanos level just yet, but I think as he kind of makes his influence felt, maybe like in Loki season 2. He will definitely raise the stakes, and I feel like if Ant-Man if Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, if it accomplished one thing, it made clear that Kang is a huge threat. He's definitely something that will require, it was going to require the entire Avengers to confront someone like him. I mean, Scott Lang couldn't do it by himself. And in the end, no one could beat Kang alone. I mean, even with an army even with entire armies at their disposal, Kang was just so overpowered and so determined. It really did. It really made for quite a spectacle, and that's what this movie is more than anything. It is just an amazing spectacle from start to finish. It's. Critics might think it's lacking depth, but the movie, it's just fun. I mean, that's the best thing I can say about it. It is a fun movie. It doesn't try to be too complicated. It does have to balance a few because Hank, Scott, and the rest they get separated early on, and a good chunk of the movie is them just trying to find one another in the quantum realm, which is no easy task considering just how weird and crazy things get. But again, that's kind of the appeal. They are a family at the end of the day, and the fact that they want to find each other, they want to get home, they want to, and then they're going to save the day along the way. There's a lot of great moments here. It shows the strength of all these characters, and it also really, really shows that Kang is he's going to be a big problem, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he develops because he's always been kind of a confusing character to follow, but there's nothing ambiguous about who Kang is in this movie, and I'm really looking forward to seeing more. So, if you're looking for a Marvel movie that doesn't try to reinvent superhero movies, doesn't really try to be too doesn't try to be too crazy or too dark, this movie is just fun. That's the best I can say about it. And I've already said that, but it's a movie that it leverages the likability of every character. It it's colorful. It's a very unique environment that you're not going to get in any other Marvel movie, and it's definitely something that I was not the biggest Ant Man fan. I did not. I did the previous two Ant Man movies. I didn't think they were that memorable, but this one, yeah, this was definitely exceeded my expectations, and I'm really glad that I got a chance to see it on opening night. I got a chance to react with the audience there. It was just so much fun, and I highly recommend it. I don't want to give it a score right now because I don't want to skew anyone's perspective. Seriously, check this movie out for yourself. Go in. It's quite a ride, and it definitely will get you, if nothing else, it'll get you excited to see more battles against Kang. So I guess that's all I'll say for now. Stay tuned for more of my quick reacts videos. Hope you enjoy them. And until next time, everyone, take care and stay safe.